Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Frank's Unsolicited Advice. Last week or the week before, I discussed clearing your inbox. When I talked about using the terminology inbox, sent items, deleted items, personal folders, things that we do to store our messages in email, I compared it to our minds, right? And sometimes we have to clear what we have in our minds to make space to receive more information or be able to be blessed to know or hear other things that come into our lives. And then I was sitting here and I was talking. So this is going to be like a two-part thing because I do want to discuss engaging. And when I mean engaging, I want to talk about when to engage with people, meaning argue, discuss, have open dialogue, when not to, who you should engage with, who you should not engage with, positions of where you at, whether it's worth it or not. But I wanted to talk about the contacts part because I was sitting here and I was talking, or I was looking through my phone book and on my phone, and I have my business and I'm trying to grow it. So I'm trying to reach out to new people. And I've noticed that there's some people in there I don't talk to and I haven't talked to in a long time. And what got me thinking about contacts was I was in TAP's class on Thursday, and the young man was talking about networking and how he didn't get the job he has now because he wasn't using his network properly. He didn't tell anybody at his church, his friends or family that he was looking for a new job. So he was running out of jobs to do, doing landscaping with a whole degree. And finally, during a fishing trip, he had the open conversation with the person. The person says, well, I didn't know you was looking for a job. The guy says, I didn't tell nobody. He says, well, listen, call this person. And he calls the person, he gives the job. So networking. So that got me thinking to my contacts, right? So looking through the phone, I'm going through it. I'm identifying people. I don't talk to people. I have talked to people that maybe I don't even want to talk to anymore. So I started deleting contacts. And this is kind of going back to what you're looking at when you talk about clearing your inbox. It's the same way you got to clear people out of your life. You got to get rid of people in your life that if you don't talk to this person no more, and there's a reason why, you're going to know. It's like when we move. I tell my wife this all the time. When you move and you have boxes and you don't go through those boxes, and it's been a year since you moved into that house. It's been 2 years and them boxes still sitting in the garage or sitting wherever you have them at. Well, in my mind, you could take that box, pick it up and take it and donate it without even going through it. And you're probably saying, why, Frank? Why would you do that? Because you didn't go through it for a whole year, 2 years. Obviously, whatever's in there you don't need. So just take it and dump it. Because if you go through it, you tend to keep things that you don't need, cluttering more space. It's the same thing with people and experiences in life that we deal with. It's if we don't go through and dump this stuff and get rid of it and just let it go, all we do is keep it. And it's going to remind us of something. It's going to bring back emotions. It's going to bring back conversations. It might have us talking to people that we don't need to talk to. So it's better to clear your contacts. Go through it. Delete the ones that you don't talk to anymore. Re-engage the ones that you want to talk to, the people that you want to be around and communicate. I have friends that I don't talk to every day. And you know what? Sometimes I wish I did. But it's that type of friendship that, guess what? Maybe I can pick up the phone and say, hey, what's good, bro? How you doing? Yo, Frank, what up? And we can pick up where we left off and have a good old time of communication. There's some that, I'll call them up or hit them and they'll be like, what do you want? Thinking I'm trying to sell them something when I'm not. And that's cool because you deserve that when you don't give people the time. So the contacts is important because those are people that you cross path with. I know some people say they go through and delete their Facebook and they clear out their people they know on Facebook and all that stuff because they don't talk to them no more. They don't engage them. So they were like, why would I keep talking to them if I'm not or have them as friends if we don't even talk? And that's fair. I don't do that. And the reason I don't do that is because I think that at some point or other we can cross paths, we can talk, we can do all that stuff. So I choose not to do that. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. I'm just telling you that for me, And what I'm saying and going is, I don't do that. I keep them there. You never know. I have mine broke up into categories, but some people I do clear. So like I said, so I was going through my inbox, my contacts, and I decided to start getting rid of names that I don't talk to. Maybe I don't care to talk to anymore. Maybe I've reached out and tried to talk to people and it just didn't work out, so I let it go. I I'd rather delete it and move on from it. So then that took me to engaging, right? So I was watching, of course, trolling, not really trolling, but watching social media, and the whole 6ix9ine and Meek Mill thing. And I asked my friends on our chat, like, hey, do you think Meek should engage? And, one of my boys, Nas, was like, nah, he done gave him too much energy already. And I said, that's right. That's true. I agree. I just wanted to get the perspective because of the whole situation. But here's what engagement to me, and this is why I wanted to speak about it. I said we need to learn when to engage and when not to engage. I feel like a lot of times people want to be argumentative to be argumentative, and they have nothing better to do than to argue. And I feel like sometimes we can diminish our personality, and who we are by engaging the wrong people or the wrong situation or at the wrong time. Have you ever thought about maybe sometimes when you sit there and you go to talk to someone about a situation, if you do it at the wrong time, it can escalate that situation. It could become more toxic. It could become more of a argument than anything else because we didn't wait to engage. Or better yet, how about when have a certain status and you reduce yourself to a certain level to engage and create the problem even bigger, or put yourself in a situation you don't need to be in, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Success is a stature, and whatever your success is, doesn't mean that just because you're there that you have to reduce yourself to engage with people of lesser intelligence or that don't have anything to lose, is what I'm trying to say. Take me, for example. I'm in the Navy. I've got 23 years. I have a career. I have a family. I have my children. I have a lot to lose if I allow myself to engage with someone or in conversations, or allow myself to get carried away with certain situations that can potentially stop my career, hurt my family, hurt my image in front of my family or in front of the people that I care about. Because you have to care about what people think about you, with the loved ones, I should say, not strangers in the street, but the people that love you, that you care about. You don't want to change that image in front of them. But now I'm not saying that don't engage when you need to, but be right about and choosy when you do it. Sometimes we get into these topics and want to have these back and forth with people that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. And their opinion is never going to change. And what they say doesn't matter, but we engage them. And now we're reducing ourselves to their level for nothing. It was like I said another one, when they go low, you go high, Michelle Obama, that whole situation. And it's true, though. It's true. Sometimes taking the ladder and taking the high road and not going low is good. It teaches a lesson. You might not feel it. I know there's times I've had to be quiet, and I'm like, man, it eats inside of me because I want to say something. Like, there was a situation at work, and the person I felt came at me sideways, and I had to eat it because, for one, they outranked me, so I had to sit there and be professional. And two, I had to remind myself, well, you're not back in New York anymore, Frank. This is not those times. And there's a time and place for everything. So there's going to come a conversation eventually. And I believe that if it's meant for us to have that crossroads again, we're going to have that conversation. And I'm going to be able to express myself on how I felt at that point in time. And that maybe I hope that person, when they hear this, can receive the message in a better way than if I would have tried to engage it when it was happening and created a bigger situation. So, that's what got me thinking about engaging. I was telling my wife that last night I was on live. I saw somebody, not I was on live, I was on somebody's live, and they were talking about a certain situation. And I just felt like she didn't need to engage or even entertain somebody. We talk, me and my family, we crack jokes about Russell Wilson and Sierra and him raising little Future, right? And how Future ain't there or whatever. And sometimes the bigger image that you can give somebody is let them see the success, let them see it and have to eat it. You know, I'm not saying that Future's losing sleep over Russell Wilson throwing footballs to his son and his son probably calling him daddy. What I'm saying is that it would be beneath Russell Wilson to engage Future if he ever said something, because who's Future compared to Russell Wilson? The images are different. I wouldn't. I'm going to just keep posting videos and dropping in Sierra's videos, and I'm going to be taking mad family pictures so you can see that you can smart, bro. I'm still here and I ain't going nowhere. And that's what I mean about engaging. You know, you want to engage when it's necessary. Sometimes you're going to have to argue. Sometimes you're going to have to fight, but you don't always have to go to that. And you don't always have to give people the attention that they don't deserve. Right? Because if you give them the attention they deserve, that they don't deserve, you're feeding their energy and taking away from your positive energy. And I think a lot of us could relate. I think when you sit back and if you're listening to this and you hear me and you say, man, you know, there was times I did. Instead of being the bigger person, I dropped down and I lost because I wasn't the bigger person at that moment in time. Instead of setting the example, I chose to take that path and I didn't do what I should have did. Excuse me. And I tell people that sometimes it's worth not engaging. I mean, yeah, you feel like you take a L. I get it. You know, your pride is hurt. As a man, you're like, man, or a person, you feel like, man, I just let this person walk all over me. But did you really? Your day still goes on. You still can smile. You probably didn't even lose a breath. Did nothing hurt you in that conversation, that exchange. But guess what? That person might feel better, but that's what they might need to do to feel better about themselves and to feed them because they're miserable. Or like I said, some people just like to argue. You know, you can say, some people you can say one thing and they'll come back and say the same thing in a different manner and say it's different. And you're like, no, we're saying the same thing. No, we're not. No, we're not. You said this, but it's the same outcome. No, but it's not. We're different. And they just want to argue. And that's just what it is. You're just going to have to do it. Learning when to engage. I was looking at a YouTube video at nighttime Friday. Me and the wife were laying in bed and I'm looking at YouTube. And there was a commentator that said that Patrick Mahomes' wife, no, I'm sorry, I'm lying. His mother, Randy, she tweeted a comment about the referees helping the Bucks, and she added Gisele Bündchen. She said, hey, can you really count that like a victory? And I'm like, why would you at Gisele Bündchen? You're a mom. Relax. Your son lost. It's okay. Now, if Gisele would have engaged, would that have been wrong, Gisele? I think so. Why? I think it's beneath her to engage. First off, you was one of the highest paid models in the world. You're worth $600 million. And the only success that woman has is her son Super Bowl winner. So why would you even engage? I hate to put it that way, but I would be like, okay, I probably would have liked to comment if I was Gisele. You know, she even got at SportsCenter and ESPN for making fun of Patrick Mahomes. Like, lady, that's what I mean by engaging. If Gisele wanted to, she could have, because you're taking an attack on how her husband played and his team won, but she didn't, because I think it would have been beneath her. I think that it would have been less of her to engage with this guy's mom. Obviously, her son probably never lost anything in his life, so that's why she's acting that way, like as if she was on the field, but she wasn't. That's what I mean, engaging. You know, like I said, I used my example earlier. You know, I have a career. If I go back home and somebody's trying to bait me into an argument or into a confrontation, the best thing I can do is walk away, because I have more to lose than that person does. I need to be focused on that. But the minute I reduce myself to engage, I lost. Whether nothing happens or not, I still lost, because I should have known better to take the high road. There was a situation at work. I can't go into it. It's not my business to talk about. Maybe when I retire, I'll revisit this topic and put it out there, because then I wouldn't care. But at this point in time, there was a situation where a person that had a certain position of power reduced himself to argue with somebody less than him, putting himself in a bad situation. You don't need to do that. You have people under you that can do that. That's why we have a rank structure. Do not engage. And it's the same thing what happened with me. Like I was telling a story. This person was getting at me, checking me, because he felt that I did something that he doesn't agree with, which I didn't know. It was our first interaction, but he let me know. And was I pissed? Hell yeah, I was pissed. Did I want to just let them have a piece of this intelligence I have? Yes, I did. Oh, I did. And that's my mom in me. My mom, Lillian, does that. She'll put you in your place very nicely using her education. However, I had to let it go. And I'm glad I did. Because yes, I might have probably felt good for that moment, but then the drama I was going to add to my life afterwards was not worth it. It's not worth me having all that going on. So that's what I mean by learning to engage. When to engage, when not to engage. When to and the engagement is just not in altercations. It's conversations, is businesses. It's anything that means for you to get involved in something. We don't always have to involve ourselves in things that either don't make sense to us or isn't right at the time. We have the opportunity to say no and come back at a later time and date when it makes sense. And that's what I mean by engagement. Engaging in anything. If it's not meant for you, then it's not for you. If it's meant for you, then it is. Which, I'm gonna probably change the title of this to engaging to random thoughts because I'm all over the place today. So we talked about the contacts part. We talked about clearing people out of your contacts and the people that you don't want to talk to or that you don't talk to anymore. You just let them go and delete the contacts, right? Because they might put you in a bad spot. They might remind you of a situation you don't need to be in. Whatever. We all have our vices. We all have our situations. We all have a past. So you delete those contacts. Then I talked about engaging. Right. And how engagement, you don't have to engage into everything you do. Sometimes walking away is the best thing. You might look like you might look soft to the eyes of some, but to the eyes of others, you're on track. You're doing well. You're doing the right thing, I should say. And the last thing that came to my mind while I was having this conversation, having this podcast is that I sometimes feel, am I doing this right? Right. Am I doing this whole podcast thing right? And I think I do great with the football part because I feel that I have help there. I have Bree, I have June. We include other people through Facebook Live or we have them call in, and I feel like I'm on a ball. But then when I get these ones where I'm by myself, the essence of Frank's unsolicited advice, because the NFL edition and the Burn My Biscuits came after the fact. But this was meant for me to give you my unsolicited advice, my unsolicited advice on my experiences, and I was listening to a podcast and I was like, man, she's doing the same thing I'm doing. She's just famous doing it. So, and then I get these random messages on Facebook and people say, hey, thanks for the message, or people quote it in conversations. And I'm like, wow, somebody's actually listening. And that's what keeps me going. So, that got me thinking that sometimes when we think that we're not making a difference, we're not doing something, we're not reaching the level that it can be reached, we're reminded by whether you believe in God, Allah, a higher power, whatever, that there is a reason you're doing it. And I just want to say thank you to those people that do take time to listen. That do take time to remind me that they're listening by sending me quotes and liking and subscribing and sharing and doing all the things. I really appreciate that, because sometimes I feel like my word is not reaching anybody, and I sometimes wonder if I do. So with that being said, I'm looking to start adding people into the podcast as interviews or talking about topics that are difficult to talk about. They don't have to be my beliefs, but I wouldn't mind talking about engaging, expanding the level of an audience to reach other people. So like I said, I talked about contacts, updating your contacts, getting rid of people that you don't speak to or that remind you of a bad situation. Like the same way you clear your inbox, you want to clear your contacts. Get rid of those that you don't talk to or don't want to talk to anymore, and make space for people that you're going to meet. Also, I talked about engaging, when to engage and when not to engage, understanding what it does by engaging with things that don't really matter or don't make sense to engage in. And then the last part was, reaching out and knowing that you're making a difference, even though you don't know you're making a difference. Keep pushing and believe that you are doing something different. Again, like I said, more things coming differently. This is I'm going to start adding and trying to do different things to grow as a person that has a podcast and has topics. And again, this topic was engaging. And thank you for listening to Frank's Unsolicited Advice.